They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I've always found that a rather pedestrian damnation. Mine, I suspect, will be lined with unopened gifts, with the ghosts of unspoken needs, with the echoes of thank yous that felt more like epitaphs than expressions of joy. Consider the man who empties his pockets, not piece by painstaking piece, but in one grand, desperate heave. He lays his all at her feet, trinkets of fleeting fancy, the heavy coinage of obligation, the deed to a heart mortgaged before it was ever truly owned. He mistakes abundance for affection, deluge for devotion. He believes that by damming the river of his own desires, he can irrigate her affections and watch a vibrant garden bloom in her soul, a garden where he, of course, will be the favored bloom. Fool. He fails to understand a fundamental truth, a paradox whispered in the shadowed corners of the psyche since long before Jung dared to articulate its contours. The human heart, particularly the feminine heart in its bewildering complexity, does not crave completion. It yearns for the horizon, for the untamed wilderness beyond the manicured lawns of predictability. To give everything is to steal the very oxygen of desire, the thrill of the chase, the delicious uncertainty, the tantalizing glimpse of something just out of reach. You hand her the summit without the arduous climb, and the vista, however breathtaking, loses its savor. It becomes a postcard, a souvenir of a journey never undertaken. I recall a local folktale, whispered by the older women during the monsoon rains. It tells of a fisherman who caught a golden carp, a creature of immense beauty and said to bring untold fortune. Instead of releasing it or even selling it for a king's ransom, he built a magnificent pond in his courtyard, lined with jade and fed by a silver stream. He adorned the carp with pearls and fed it the finest grains. He gave it everything a carp could possibly desire. Yet every morning, he would find the creature listless, its golden scales dulled, its once vibrant movements reduced to sluggish circles. One day he found it floating belly up, its eyes vacant. The fisherman, in his misguided generosity, had forgotten that the ocean was the carp's desire, the vast unknown its lifeblood. He had offered a gilded cage and called it love. So it is with the heart. When a man lays down his sword, abandons his quest, and offers up the entire kingdom without a battle, what remains for the queen to conquer? Where is the dragon to be slain? The treacherous terrain to be navigated? The narrative collapses. The epic poem of courtship turns into a dull inventory of possessions and predictable affections. The mystery evaporates like morning mist under a relentless sun. And here's the bitterest irony, the one that twists the knife in the already wounded male ego. This surrender, this act of utter devotion, often stems from a deep-seated insecurity, a fear of inadequacy. He believes he must buy her love, that his inherent self is not enough. He smothers her with attention, suffocates her with gifts, drowns her in his availability, all in a desperate attempt to fill a void within himself. But love, true love, cannot be bought or bartered. It is a resonance, a spark ignited by the friction of two independent souls, each with their own shadows and their own light. Consider the psychological studies emerging from research groups in 2023 and 2024, subtly hinting at the correlation between perceived effort and valuation. When something is easily obtained, its perceived worth diminishes. This isn't a cynical calculation, it's a deeply ingrained human tendency. The prize that demands no struggle rarely feels like a true victory. What then remains? Only the hollow echo of unmet expectations, the bitter taste of a sacrifice that yielded no salvation. He is left standing amidst the ruins of his own generosity, wondering why the abundance he offered only served to starve the very affection he craved. Tell me, listener, have you ever offered someone the world only to find they preferred a single wildflower picked from a dangerous cliffside? And in their indifference, did you glimpse the chilling truth that perhaps the offering itself was the cage? You're not loving her, You're worshipping your own ghost in her skin. Imagine, for a moment, that you're building a cathedral in the dark. You have no blueprint, no memory of light, only an instinct, a profound and holy ache for beauty. So you work. By the faint phosphorescent glow of your own longing, you raise spires of idealized grace. You carve gargoyles from your deepest fears. You install stained glass windows depicting saints of impossible virtue. You build this monument not for a god in the heavens, but for her, the woman who has just walked into your life. And when your masterwork is complete, you lead her inside, place her upon the altar, and you fall to your knees in worship. You are not in love. You are a madman in the throes of a sacred delusion. Carl Jung, that old locksmith of the soul, gave this delusion a name: the Anima, the unconscious feminine image within a man's psyche. She is not a person. She is a collage of archetypes, a phantom stitched together from his mother, from myths, from the siren songs of his own unmet potential. She is the part of him that is intuitive, receptive, creative, and wild. And because he has been taught to deny this part of himself, to lock it away in the dungeons of his own masculinity, it festers, it yearns. It waits for a screen upon which to project itself. And then she appears, a woman of flesh and blood, with her own history, her own messy, glorious, contradictory reality. But he doesn't see her. He cannot. He is blinded by the light of his own projection. He sees his anima, his soul image, walking and talking in the real world. He has found his goddess. And so begins the ritual of worship. He ignores her flaws, not out of kindness, but because they are inconvenient smudges on his masterpiece. He lavishes her with praise for virtues she may not possess, virtues that are, in fact, his own buried aspirations. He loves her not for who she is, but for what she represents, the missing, divine part of himself. It is the cruelest form of flattery. It is like being praised for the beauty of a mask you are forced to wear, a mask that is slowly suffocating you. She feels the immense pressure of this pedestal. She must be forever graceful, endlessly nurturing, perpetually inspiring. She cannot be tired, or petty, or uncertain. She cannot be human. Because to be human would be to shatter the mirror, and the man worshipping at her feet would be forced to see not a goddess, but the terrifying, ecstatic, gaping void of his own inner world. Think of the myth of Pygmalion, but let's strip it of its romantic veneer. A sculptor falls in love with his statue of a perfect woman. He prays for her to come to life. In the old story, she does, and they live happily ever after. A grotesque fantasy. The truth is darker. If Galatea came to life, her first words to Pygmalion would not be, "I love you." They would be, "Where are my flaws? Where is my past? Why does my skin feel like cold, unyielding marble?" Her first act would be to flee the workshop, to seek out someone who saw not a perfect statue, but a living, breathing, beautifully imperfect woman. She will begin to pull away. It is not a conscious act of cruelty. It is an act of self-preservation. Her soul suffocates in the thin air of his idealized worship. She will begin, perhaps unconsciously, to sabotage the image. She will be late. She will be difficult. She will express opinions that contradict the divine script he has written for her. She is not trying to hurt him. She is trying to breathe. She is trying to introduce herself, the real her, the one who exists behind the projection. But he will not see it as an introduction. He will see it as a betrayal. The goddess is showing cracks. The statue is tarnished. The dream is ending. And so the question I must ask you, the builder of cathedrals in the dark, are you truly in love with the woman who shares your bed? Or are you merely in love with the beautiful ghost you have dressed in her skin? Look closer. Look until your eyes hurt. Are you willing to see the stranger standing before you? Or will you curse her for failing to be the reflection you so desperately need? A love without fights is just two corpses sharing a bed. I knew a man once, a perfectly pleasant man, the sort of man who irons his socks and remembers anniversaries down to the minute. He told me with a kind of placid pride that he and his wife never fought. Never. In 15 years, their home was a sanctuary of serene agreement, a tranquil sea. He didn't realize he was describing a morgue. He thought he had achieved peace, when all he had cultivated was a masterful, unspoken armistice between two people who had long ago given up on the beautiful, violent, necessary business of truly knowing one another. We are fed this lie, aren't we? That love is a gentle stream, a state of perpetual harmony. We see conflict as a failure, a sign that the machinery of the relationship is breaking down. What a pathetic, anemic vision of passion, friction. Psychic, emotional, intellectual friction is not a bug in the system. It is the system. It is the flint striking the stone. Without it, there is no spark, no warmth, no light. There is only the damp, suffocating quiet of two souls politely orbiting each other at a safe distance. When you give a woman everything she wants, when you preemptively agree with every opinion, concede every argument before it is even born, you are not being kind. You are being a coward. You are erasing yourself from the equation. You are presenting her with a perfectly smooth, polished surface. And what can she do with that? She can see her own reflection, yes, but she cannot get a grip. There is no texture, no edge, nothing to push against, nothing to test her own strength. A relationship without conflict is a dance without tension. Imagine a tango where both partners are limp, where there is no lead, no follow, no resistance, no surrender. It's just two bodies shuffling aimlessly in a space, a pathetic pantomime of connection. The real dance of love requires opposition. It requires two distinct, strong-willed individuals, each with their own rhythm, their own center of gravity, who choose to engage in that dangerous, breathtaking push and pull. It is in the moments of near collision, of recovery, of finding a shared rhythm out of dissonance, that the real intimacy is forged. Nietzsche knew it. He spoke of needing chaos within to give birth to a dancing star. The man who smooths over every ripple of disagreement, who fears the chaos of a genuine emotional storm, is a man who will never see a star born in his sky. He will live under the perpetual gray, overcast dome of fine. Everything is fine. The weather is fine. Dinner is fine. Our love is fine. It is the most damning word in the language. This fear of conflict often masquerades as being a nice guy. But let's be brutally honest. It's a form of control. By refusing to engage, by maintaining a state of unshakable agreeableness, you create an environment where her own anger, her own passion, her own righteous fury feels hysterical and baseless. You invalidate her feelings by refusing to have any of your own. You turn her into the crazy one simply by being pathologically sane. It's a subtle, maddening form of gaslighting. And the hope? Ah, yes. The fragile, fleeting hope. It's not found in avoiding the storm. It's found in the wreckage, the morning after. It's in the quiet act of making coffee for the person you were screaming at 12 hours before. It is in the repair. It's the admission, I was wrong, or the even more powerful, I see you, I hear you. I may not agree, but I see your truth. That is where love deepens, not in the placid lake, but in the proof that you can survive the hurricane together and still find each other on the shore. The scars you give each other become a testament to your resilience. So let me ask you this, in a whisper, so as not to disturb the peace. The next time you are in your quiet home, listen past the hum of the refrigerator. Listen to the silence. Is it a comfortable, restful silence? Or is it the tense, airless silence of a battlefield where the armies have forgotten why they were even supposed to fight? Is it peace, or the sound of two ghosts who have learned the terrible art of not bumping into each other in the hall? If you fear being alone, you'll turn love into a velvet cage. The lock I forged for her, you see, was built from fear inside of me. She did not break the door and flee. She simply vanished with the key. There is a particular kind of man, a gentle man, a devoted man who is more terrified of an empty Saturday night than he is of death itself. His love is not a gift, it is a frantic plea. Please stay, fill this space. Distract me from the roaring silence of my own company. He makes himself indispensable. He becomes the fixer of sinks, the driver of errands, the tireless provider of comfort and validation. He turns his love into a utility, a service provider for the soul. And he does it all to avoid a confrontation with the one person he cannot escape, himself. A man who does not know how to be alone, truly, profoundly alone, is a dangerous man. Not because he is violent, but because he is a black hole. He will suck the light and air and autonomy out of the one he claims to love, not from malice, but from a desperate, consuming need. His identity becomes parasitic. His moods are dictated by her presence. His self-worth is a reflection in her eyes. He is a vine that has no trunk of its own, and so he must wrap himself around her so tightly that she can no longer grow toward her own sun. Schopenhauer spoke of humanity as porcupines on a cold day. They huddle together for warmth, but as they draw closer, they prick each other with their quills. They retreat, only to feel the cold again. And so they oscillate, searching for that perfect distance where they can feel the warmth without the wounds. The man who fears solitude tries to solve this dilemma by pulling out all his quills. He makes himself smooth, harmless, utterly accommodating. But a porcupine without quills is no longer a porcupine. It is just prey. And worse, he demands she pull out hers too, so they can merge into one lukewarm, undifferentiated mass. This is why she leaves. Not because he's cruel, but because he offers her a cage lined with velvet. She feels her own edges dissolving, her own desires being subsumed by his neediness. The relationship ceases to be a meeting of two sovereign nations and becomes a hostile takeover disguised as unconditional love. She has to leave, not to escape him, but to find herself again. And here, in the rubble of his abandoned devotion, lies the strange and terrifying liberation. The moment he stops chasing, the moment he is forced into the solitude he has so long dreaded, is the moment he can finally begin to build his own fortress. Not a fortress to keep others out, but a fortress to protect the sacred, nascent thing growing within. A self. In that silence, he might hear his own thoughts for the first time in years. He might rediscover a passion for an old book, a forgotten hobby, the simple pleasure of walking in the rain without needing to shield someone else from the storm. He learns that his bones can hold him upright without her leaning against him. He forges his own quills, not of aggression, but of opinion, of principle, of a self-defined purpose. He learns to provide his own warmth. This is the path of the hermit, the wandering monk, the solitary artist. They retreat not because they hate the world, but because they must find their own world within themselves before they can meaningfully engage with the one outside. Only when a man is no longer terrified of being alone can he be a truly safe partner. His love ceases to be a demand and becomes an invitation. I have built a world of my own. It is strong and warm. Would you care to visit? You are free to leave whenever you wish, so I dare you. In fact, I challenge you. Cancel your plans. Turn off the noise. Spend one entire evening with no one but the man you see in the mirror. No phone, no television, no desperate texts to an old flame. Just you and him in a room until the sun comes up, and see which one of you starts screaming first. She doesn't want your perfection. She wants the gold in your cracks. Let me tell you a secret, a dangerous one. The kind of truth that, once heard, can't be unheard. It's this: perfection is grotesque. It's repellent. It's the uncanny valley of the soul. It is a lie told by a coward. And women, whose intuition for emotional truth is 1,000 times more ancient and refined than our own, can smell that lie from a mile away. What the human heart, what the feminine soul in its hunger for story, for depth, truly craves is the jagged, undeniable truth told by a scar. We spend our lives trying to become flawless. The nice guy, the provider, the stable rock. He sands down his edges, plasters over his cracks, hides his history of fractures under a thick coat of agreeable paint. He presents himself as a finished product, a polished Grecian statue, muscular, symmetrical, and utterly lifeless. He thinks this perfection is his greatest asset. In reality, it is his most profound failure. There's nothing to hold on to. There's no story to read in the lines of his face. He is a blank page, and love is a form of reading. In Japan, there is an art form called kintsugi. When a beloved piece of pottery breaks, they don't throw it away. They mend it painstakingly using lacquer dusted with powdered gold. The philosophy is that the piece is more beautiful for having been broken. The cracks are not something to be hidden. They are part of its history, a testament to its survival. They are the highlight. The golden seams tell a story of resilience, of a cherished object that endured trauma and was made whole again, not just in spite of the damage, but because of it. This is the man a woman's soul yearns for. Not the man who has never been broken, but the man who has the courage to display his golden seams. His scars from past loves, from failures, from his battles with his own darkness, are not signs of weakness. They are the proof of his life. They show that he has been in the arena, that he has fought, that he has bled, and that he has learned to heal himself. The man who gives everything, who tries to be perfect, is a man desperately hiding his shadow. He has repressed his anger, his selfishness, his untamed ambitions, his capacity for beautiful destruction. He presents himself as pure light, which means he is only half a man. Jung taught us that wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integrating it. A woman is not attracted to a man's darkness for its own sake. She is attracted to the wholeness of a man who is not afraid of his own shadow, a man who has wrestled with his demons and can speak their names without flinching. This man has weight. He has substance. He has a soul with gravity. The paradox, the final, painful, liberating truth is this. The very things you are most ashamed of, the failures you replay in the dead of night, the wounds you think make you unlovable, are the raw materials of your own kintsugi. They are the source of your depth, your character, your magnetic humanity. The relentless pursuit of her approval, the frantic chase to give her everything, was always just a flight from your own beautiful broken self. When you stop running from that, you will stop needing to chase her. You will simply stand still in your own sovereign space, a man of scars and gold, and you will find that is a profoundly attractive place to be. So, here is the final challenge, the last dark invitation of the night. Stop polishing the statue. Put down the plaster and the paint. Look at your own cracks. Look at the map of your failures. And ask yourself, what if the part of you that you've been fighting to hide is the only part that can truly connect with anyone? Dare to show her your scars. Not with pride, nor with shame, but simply as the story of where you have been. What if the one thing you are most terrified to reveal is the one thing that will finally set you free?